Hey, my name is Bill Lamori, and thank you for watching this so far, and I hope you stick with me. This is where I would normally drop a title or something that would lend some sort of credibility to whatever it is that I have to say, but I don't have that for you today. You see, I'm still living in between two places, and that's our topic for today. I'm not really an expert on this topic because I'm still in this place, but I've been here long enough to learn some things along the way that may be helpful for you if you're just arriving here. And welcome if you are, or maybe you've been here for a little while and you're struggling, then perhaps you'll find the things that I have to say helpful to you as well. Now, what am I talking about? Do you ever remember a time in your life where you've been in between two places in life? You're not where you were, and yet you're also not where you'll be going next. In fact, you may not even know where it is that you're going next, and that's probably likely when you're in this place. It's kind of like you were dropped off at a bus stop in life, pushed out, waiting there with all the stuff you own around you, and you're waiting for a bus that you don't know when will come, nor do you know where it will take you. And that is a difficult place to be. Now, this could be a relationship, it could be a stage of life, it could be a circumstance, and very often it can be a business or career related situation. And there's many different things that you could apply it to. But whatever it is, you're stuck in the middle. You're in between two places. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today because this place can be incredibly difficult. It can be incredibly disorienting and stressful. So you ask yourself, what do I do with all my time? Do I wait? Do I try to get to the next bus stop? Do I try to make something happen? Listen, if you're in this season of wait, then first of all, you have some time. So go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. I know that was a little bit of a cheap shot, but hey, let's move on to what we're talking about. I recently learned that there is a name for this place, this bus stop in life, this season that we're in, this place in between two places. It's called Liminality, not Liminality and not Illuminati, although if we did some conspiracy theory videos, we would probably get a whole lot more watches, so maybe I'll get my tinfoil hat out next time. Anyway, here's what I know. Listen to this dictionary.com definition. Liminality comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. In its literal sense, a threshold is a doorway. So liminality is the threshold or gateway between two stages. So it's a temporary and a transitional space. Liminality is the space between the no longer and the not yet. Now, I want to give some credit. I learned a lot about this concept from this book, From Strength to Strength by Arthur C. Brooks, and I want to give a shout out because this was super helpful for me in my journey. But I want to also talk to you about personally, here are some of the challenges that we may face. I know I have in this place called liminality. Just some observations. Number one, we miss where we were. Maybe not everything, but what happens over time is we tend to maybe block out the difficult times and focus on the best parts. So we're desiring to go back to something in a time and a place, and yet we can't. The second challenge is we don't know where we're going yet, so we can become quite anxious. It's scary not knowing what's next. It's hard waking up from a dream where you were back in that old place doing the thing that you love to do with the people you love to do that with and feeling like you've got some focus only to wake up and realize you were just dreaming and you're still in this place between two places and you don't even know what to do for that day. A third challenge is our thoughts and emotions can become a scary place in liminality. I told myself all kinds of things in this place that I had to check. Things like your best days are behind you. You're too old. People want younger people around them. You're not what you used to be. So I've wrestled with doubts, fears, sadness, discouragement, even panic in moments and had to take some deep breaths along the way. A fourth thing that we can wrestle with in this place is you don't know what to do with yourself in the wait. And look, I get the pushback. I remember being so busy before in my former profession that I fantasized about having huge chunks of time where I could just do whatever I want. And listen, I am grateful for some of those things, but it also must be acknowledged that this is a very disorienting place. It's a relearning time. It's a time where you don't know, and things are just unsettled, and it's sometimes hard to live in that place. Now, I realize I gave you four things. I'm not saying there's only four things. There's probably a lot more things, but that's enough of challenges to deal with in this video because I don't want it to be all that long. So let me talk to you about a few of the things that have been helpful to me in these challenges that I've learned along the way. Number one, when you find yourself missing that old space, that old life, the place that you were, grieve. You see, in my case, the place that I was in was wrapped up with so many different things in my life. With the people that I got to pastor at the church we had started 18 years previously, at the friends that we had to say goodbye to, the home that we lived in, that we loved, that our kids grew up in, and most of their formative years were spent in that place, to the community that we loved, the places that we visited, just so many things. And in some ways, I also lost, and maybe this shouldn't be true, but it is in some ways, a sense of identity in what I did, and knowing that where I would go, people would know you, only to end up in a place where no one does, and it's a weird place. But what we have to learn, whatever it is that we're going through, whatever it is that we lost, we need to name those things and then grieve those things. Mourn those things and release those things. And I think too often we try to go from one place to the next without stopping to do that, and that's unhealthy. So some of the exercises that I did through the help of someone that is more of an expert in these areas is I did some exercises on grieving. Name the things and mourn the things, and it's still a process. It still comes up and it's still difficult, but being committed to that process can help us in those moments as we go forward. Ignore those bells. That's simply what happens when you forget to turn on your focus before you begin recording a video. So we need to grieve. That's definitely one of the things that we need to do in this place. But also, as you deal with grieving, there's also something else that you need to do, because there's something else that you need to deal with. The second thing to do is pray, because one of the big things that can happen in this place of liminality is anxiety. Now, I don't know what your faith is or is not, but I will just tell you, I would have a very hard time dealing with and being in this place without faith. And for me, that faith is in Jesus Christ. But listen to how the Bible directly prescribes prayer as the antidote to anxiety. It says in Philippians 4, 6, and 7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and minds in Christ Jesus." You see, prayer is first filled with gratitude, because even in the in-between places, we still have a lot that we can be thankful for. And then we appeal to a higher power, because we can't control this place, we can't do this, but there's someone that is. So instead of us worrying, we put it in his hands, and because of that, we can have peace. We can have peace in our minds because our thoughts are dealt with, and we can have peace in our hearts because our emotions are dealt with. It's one of the ways we can turn worries into prayers. When we're freaking out about something, just turn that into a prayer. Another thing, a third thing that we need to do, a strategy to help us in this place of liminality, is to relearn. And I don't mean just learn new things, although that's kind of cool. I mean, we've got to relearn how to think. You see, when those negative thoughts, and I shared some of those that I experienced, but when yours come into your head, the question is, what are you going to do about it? And a question you should ask is, what's behind that thought? What's driving that? Now, I mentioned earlier, I wrestled with things like, I'm too old, I'm obsolete. And the thing is, there are true things in there. I am older than I once was. I don't have the energy or stubbornness that the younger Bill had. And yet there are things that are unhealthy that are also wrapped up in there, like false thinking. When you start to say to yourself, you're washed up, your best years are behind you, well, you've taken some true thoughts and you've really put that together with some bad thoughts, and you come up in a bad place. And so you need to challenge those thoughts and relearn. Instead of making those value judgments that are unhelpful, ask yourself, be curious instead, and ask God, what might you have for me next? What might you have for someone that's already had a life adventure, but you're doing something new? Remember, Moses was 80 years old before he entered his prime ministry years. So I don't know how old you are. I assume you're probably somewhere younger than that. And so it's not too late. God may have something for you. And again, this book, From Strength to Strength, was super helpful in helping me to recognize that there are these two places in life. The first half of your life is all about your fluid intelligence. It's the raw strength. It's the brute force of how you might get things done. And then, and we could do a lot of things in those years. But the second half is what the author describes as a crystallized intelligence. In other words, this is where we don't have the energy, we don't have the strength, we don't have the stubbornness, but we may have some wisdom that the younger you didn't have. We may have some perspective, some things we've learned, some things that have become fine-tuned along the way. So we may not be as fast, but there may even be wisdom in that. And so we've got to learn how to operate out of this new paradigm and grow in that. And again, if you want to know how to do that more, read From Strength to Strength. But that's one of the things we need to do, is relearn. And finally, for our video today, the fourth thing that we need to do in this place of liminality is experiment. You've got time. So try some new things. Now, every day I go to a place that's a shared workspace, and it's called the lab, even though I don't have work. By the way, I'm recording in a little booth that's meant for conference calls and things like that right now inside the lab. So practically, I just needed to get out of the house. But I've also been experimenting on a few different things along the way. Got some different irons in the fires. I consider what's next. What are some different things that God might be calling me to do? This video is one of those things. So I'm trying to figure some things out. But again, as you go about this and as you experiment, I know a lot of people never do this because they're afraid of failure. Can I just tell you that it's okay to experiment and fail? You just call it that. It's just an experiment. You tried something out. Hopefully you don't have to learn the hard way and have God redirect you the hard way, as he did with me with a recent car crash. But that's another story for another video. But trust me, God will help redirect. But get out there, experiment, not just vocationally. What might you want to do different with your health, your workouts, other hobbies, habits that you wanted to get into? Now is a great time. Books you want to read, concepts and ideas you want to explore, take a chance. Now listen, as we wrap today, I don't have all the answers for you because I'm still in that place. I'm in the place of liminality, in between two worlds. But I am doing much better than I was, and so can you. So listen, if you have some tips for me, go ahead and include them in the comments and I'll check it out. Or if you have some questions or comments you want to make, go ahead and drop that as well, and we can learn from one another. Now, I hope you'll come back for some more low quality production, but hopefully high quality content in a future video. But regardless, thank you so much for watching today. God bless you, and may he help you navigate the space between the no longer and the not yet.